Are you an entrepreneur with lofty goals who can't just seem to get out of your own way, and as a result, you've been stuck in a rut for months or maybe a year? That's the topic of today's episode of the Freedom Club Podcast.
Welcome to the Freedom Club Podcast, where we discover the fight for freedom, fulfillment, passion, and purpose. Your host is Kurt Mercadante, Gallup certified strengths coach, an agency founder who is dedicated to coaching individuals seeking to level up their life and their businesses. The Freedom Club is about unlocking your talents, turning them into strengths, and crushing your objectives. You can learn more at kurtmercadante.com. Welcome to the Freedom Club.
And this is the Freedom Club Podcast. Welcome. I am your host, Kurt Mercadante. I am so happy you're here today. Today we have a special episode. My guest is Mike Cassavant. He's been on this show before. Mike is a sales and marketing guru. He has started up a few of his own businesses. Between the two of us, we've started probably about 4 or 5 profitable businesses. And as Mike and I discuss, we have a growing frustration with some people we know, some people we love, some people we don't know, but who come to us on a regular basis, who can't seem to get out of their own way. They have these lofty goals. Maybe they left their corporate job to start their own business, but because of fear, because of what they perceive as perfectionism, they are stuck in a rut and they can't seem to get out of it. So Mike and I discuss that challenge today, and we also talk about a new program we're launching called Activate to help those people, to help those entrepreneurs who can't get out of their own way and activate. We want to help them. We talk about that program today. So here is my discussion with Mike Cassavant. So Mike, you and I have had discussions, and it's a frustration, but it's a frustration born out of love, right? Because there's some people we know and love, and some people that we just run across who, you know, maybe they left their corporate job. They have this dream, this lofty dream that they want to start their own company. But for whatever reason, they're stuck behind process and they can't get out of their own way, right?
Yep. I thought you were going to keep going. No. So that's awesome. That's amazing. No, so yeah, on that point, I think it's weird. I mean, I think the devil is in the details, right? And I think people get really, really romantic about having everything, like the perfect camera, the perfect computer, the perfect lighting. Like my lighting looks like whatever right now, but but that hinders the process for them to even start. And I think that's really where I think you and I have come to this realization that there's so many people struggling with the same exact thing. And that's kind of where I've gotten to this point where you and I have this conversation now, where I just want to be able to help these people stop focusing on the most minute things that don't add to their bottom line and focus on the things that will, which is actually getting out and doing the damn thing that they actually want to do, and not focus on if they have the perfect camera or not, or if they're. I think as long as the sound is there and you can understand and enunciate everything 100%, everything else will come after that. As long as you just dive in the deep end and not care about anything else but delivering what you want to deliver. And once you do that, then you can start, I always say this too, you and I talked about this, establish the need, go out, do it, prove that, wow, there's actually 15 people that want to do this, great. I should now I can amplify this up by doing this, and this. Great. And scale up accordingly, but don't stop yourself from scaling just in the beginning because you're so focused on, you know, the perfect element of what you're trying to get to, because it's never going to be that way ever.
Yeah. And you're using, you know, video as an example because it's such a simple example to use, but there's people who, I'd get going, but the designer is designing the logo, or I'm waiting on my website, or I'm waiting on my brochure. And I think in some cases there is, okay, maybe it's perfectionism, you know, taken to the extreme level that's keeping you back, which is a problem. But I think in some cases it's almost like the people excuse it and they have a foil in their supposed perfectionism, But really what it is, it's almost a fear. It's easier to push it off on your designer. It's easier to push it off on your logo that's in design. It's easier to hide behind process than to actually go out. Maybe it's a fear of getting no, maybe it's a fear of rejection, maybe it's a fear of just running. I feel like people it's like a sprinter who's so scared of losing the race that he or she never leaves the starting blocks.
Right.
And I think some of it, is attention to detail and perfectionism. But I think in many cases that claim is total bullshit. And I think it's fear. And I think they need someone, which is what you and I want to do, someone to help hold them accountable, hold their feet to the fire, who can urge them along to get out of the blocks, start running, test, fail, learn, test again. Maybe you fail again, learn and succeed,
Think about adolescence and the years growing up as a kid. You didn't think about the details. You just went out and did it. As a kid, I jumped on my BMX and try to hit any ramp I possibly could and break my face and then go up and do it again and again and again until I got it. But I didn't sit there and wait until it was the perfect ramp to go hit. I didn't sit there and, excrucianize over if I had the perfect bike. I made do with what I had and went to go for it. And I think that's sort of been the predicator to everything in my life because of that, because I don't stress about the details. I focus on the delivery and execution and then worry about the details after. That's I think what we want to do 100%.
Yeah. And I've talked to some people who say, well, it's not fear because I'm not a fearful person. And it's like, and they'll give me an example of one way they weren't fearful at some other point in their life.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm terrified of heights, but I'm not scared of bees. So one has nothing to do with the other. You can not fearful of jumping off a cliff into water, right into a quarry or something filled with water, but you could be terrified of taking a risk business-wise. And that's fine. There's no value judgment on it. But I think what you and I want to do is, and we'll talk a little bit about the program, but we want to help people get out of their own way, not only through us providing that accountability, know-how, advice, but also in a group setting where we hop in on a weekly call. We do video chat where we can help them get out of the way, hold them accountable on Mondays and Fridays for whatever outcomes they set, move them forward. And it's real simple.
And exactly. And I think having the accountability is really important. And I think you and I have talked about this before too, where I have about 4 friends of mine that hold each other extreme accountability, which for me, it works really well, where if I set out to do something and I said I was going to do something and I'm not delivering or I'm falling off somewhere, I know one of the 3 people in my life I'm going to hear from, and it's not going to be, it won't be pleasant. And I don't want it to be, because that's what gets me. I know my personal learning curve is having that extreme accountability. And if I have that, I know I can't, if I set out to do something, I say I'm going to do it, I know I have these 3 guys in my life to basically pound it in my head. You better go do that damn thing, dude, and right. Make sure you get it done and don't waste time on the bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's some people watching this video right now and they're nodding their head. That's exactly what I need. That's exactly what I need, but they won't jump in. Right. And it's real simple. It's what I mentioned before. It's a weekly group call. There's going to be group video chat, $477. We're only going to open it up 5 days each month. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. And the people who not only realize they have a challenge and realize they have a problem, but take just one step forward to jump in the program, get off the couch and do it. Those are the people we want in. And if you miss out, and it's your loss.
100%. And I think that's exactly, I think the whole strategy of this program is to not have the people that are just going to sort of sit around and wait and kind of excrucianizing over the details, when it's really just jump in the program, let us help you along the way, be a part of something really great, be a part of something that you're going to have other people that are struggling with the same exact things that you and I have collectively struggled with, and found ways to leverage that and become an asset as opposed to something that's going to hinder our process. And I think having the right people supporting and pushing is really what it's a beautiful thing. And
you're a perfect example. The word excrucianize is not even a word, but that has not stopped you from just using it, which is wonderful.
Right. I know. Yeah, I don't know what the hell I just said. As a wordsmith, I think I just created something live.
But hey, it doesn't matter, right? Everyone knew what you meant. You move forward.
Yeah.
But there's some people who would let that stop them.
100%.
We got to do this video.
Yeah, let me rewind that. Well, and as you know, all my videos are one take. I don't edit anything. I just press record and go. And like, if I don't get it the first time, then I redo the whole thing. It's like, because I don't care. Like, I'm not going to sit there. It's like, I just want to get the message out. As long as the attitude and delivery is 100% there, then that's it. That's all that matters. Yeah. It's like just, I think what's the KISS? What is it? Keep it simple, stupid, right? And then that's just, I think, how I live. It's just keep things really simple and effective, and don't stress about all the things that, it's almost like the predetermined outcome. And that's kind of what people do. They predetermine this outcome that hasn't happened, and they're like, well, before I can do anything, I'm going to sit here and just talk about it for the next 10 months. And then maybe I'll start. But then by 10 months, I'm going to have another excuse why I didn't start, when really between us and this program, this is exactly what people need 100%. All they need to do is just jump in and let us help them. And
it's interesting, you think of the doomsday scenario. It's like, you're going to die. And so like earlier, I don't know, this is 6 months ago. It's like, all right, I'm going to do a group program. And I announced it and I went, and no one jumped in. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm still here. I lived. I learned from that experience. And 2 months later, I launched 3 group courses, filled them up. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Sometimes I fill them, sometimes I don't. No one knows except me. I learned. I don't die from it. And there's people who are so afraid of that failure for whatever reason, and they create this doomsday scenario that just simply doesn't even exist, that keeps them, like I said, in the starting blocks. They don't even run the race. It's unfortunate, because I think of music as, think of like Jimi Hendrix. If he never just got out of his garage and jumped on stage, like would music be what it is right now? And it's, of course there's a risk, of course there's judgment and all these different things, but if you are your biggest fan and you go out and just deliver your message 100% or whatever it is that you're pursuing, it's going to happen. And it will. and sometimes there's a longer growth pattern or growth journey to get there. And other people happens maybe a little quicker along the way, but you can't really compare yourself to others, because everyone's starting points and paths are so different that you just have to focus on yourself and getting out in front of yourself, and not living behind this fear of this predetermined outcome that doesn't actually exist. It's all in your mind. It's funny you bring up Hendrix, and I'm going to get the story somewhat wrong, but he was left-handed. And, back in the day, if you were left-handed, there was this belief that like the devil was inside of you. And so if you look like an Italian, for instance, left is sinistra, sinister, right? And so his dad wouldn't let him use his left hand. But Hendrix was like, well, that's what comes most natural. But I think this is what happened. He could only find a right-handed guitar. Mm-hmm. And so what he learned to play it upside down, right? Or backwards? So he turned everything like upside down. So like the headstock was like different. Everything was super crazy, but he made it work. And he could have sat there and said, I'm going to wait for 5 years until I can afford to find a left-handed guitar. He just do it. That's 100% accurate. And I think that's such a great analogy, especially now with just making do with what you have and just going for it and not caring. It's like, I mean, gosh, as a touring musician, when I used to tour and play music all over the world, like we started out with the worst of everything. Like I didn't have the best equipment. We showed up to my first gig, I'll never forget this, and the band that we were opening up for, it looked like Metallica was playing. I was like, oh my God, look at this equipment. This is crazy. I had this like little gig bag. My cords are all wrapped up and smelled like beer and so, all these things, different things. And then I showed up, and we destroyed every night. And by the end of the tour, the headliner was like, you guys are like, oh my God, like I don't even know how we can compare to you guys. You know what I mean? And it was like that whole duality of, well, I could sit here and bitch about not having the best equipment, or I could just go out, earn the respect of these fans in this crowd, and then 2 months, 3 months down the line, actually get an endorsement to have the right equipment. That's exactly what happened. And you probably changed a lot along the way, right? From your first performance to your 50th, right? You learned about what gets the biggest cheers, what works better, what doesn't. And that's the only way you learn, by doing.
And that's what I think I love about this concept that we're creating, is the fact that I want people to be thrown in the wolf's den, because that's how we learn. And I think somewhere along the way, our culture has just shifted in such an odd scenario that I feel like it's almost, yeah, it's like, to me, the only way I've ever learned is when I've been absolutely in, like, scared and not knowing how to do something, and the pressure of, like, if I mess this up, this is gonna destroy this person's, job or whatever. But every time that's happened and I've overcome it, I've figured out how to optimize my talent, or how to utilize that, whatever it was that I was struggling with in the beginning, that became a massive asset very quickly after. So it's the same thing, like you said, day one isn't going to be what day 50 is, because along that journey, you're learning so much about every nuance of what you're doing, and you refine it constantly. But if you don't start, you don't even know what to refine. And if you're too scared to start, then this is why you need this program more than anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, so the name of the program is Activate with an exclamation point.
Yeah, we should do 2 exclamation points.
It's $477. There's going to be a link somewhere wherever you're watching this, and it's real simple, right? We sign you up for group text chat in video text in Marco Polo, and then we have weekly calls, and we're going to have hot seats. There's going to be some group accountability. Share as much as you like or as little as you like. If you don't like the group aspect, then just deal with us, right? The two of us. Yeah. But there's going to be a link in this first round. It's going to be open till Friday at midnight, and we're only going to take 5 people in per month. It's going to open up. There's going to be kind of open enrollment for 5 days each month. And if you're in, you're in. If you're not, you missed out.
That's it. And I think, and that's keeping everything as we're talking about super simple and super easy. There's no, it doesn't really get much simpler than that. It's just jump in, get a part of something really great, and look at, and we're not promising the world, but what we absolutely are promising is that we're going to support and direct anyone that's a part of this 100% in any aspect of what they're struggling with. And I know we can help them 100%.
Absolutely.